Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of the Disruptive Franchise podcast. My wonderful guests today are Jenna and Fay from Little Dreams Consulting. Hi, ladies.
Hello, thanks for having
Hi.
us.
Thank you for being here. Thank you very much for joining me. So, a little while ago now, you participated in the Disruptive Franchise Awards. I think I looked on the notes, it was 2023.
I think it was the first.
Yeah,
I
it was
think
the
the
first
first,
one.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
guys
Yeah.
got the Pioneer, which is such an exciting category, isn't it? So, yeah, so we thought we'd have you on the podcast to introduce yourselves and we'll have a little chat about innovation and disruption and all the fun stuff. So, first of all, introduce yourselves.
Hello, I'm Jenna. I founded Little Dreams originally back in 2016. I was a solicitor for 12 years and then had my middle child, decided I didn't love being a solicitor anymore. So slight change in career. And yeah, then met Faye probably only just a year later when things were getting very, very busy. And then Faye came on board.
So I'm Faye, and I was a social worker before when I met Jenna. And similarly, I had my second child and realised that I had fallen out of love with social work. It also wasn't realistic for me in terms of needing to be flexible because my husband's in the military, so he's away a lot. And so I needed to be able to be the one that was there doing the pickups and drop-offs and, the sick days and all of those other things. And so, yeah, I met Jenna, and then together we founded the franchise in 2021.
December
God,
21,
time
yeah.
flies.
Amazing. That time does go so quickly, though, doesn't it? When you
It
look back,
does.
amazing. What made you franchise Little Dreams?
I think when we became very busy, as I said, very quickly. And so we were starting to expand. Then we realized that actually we didn't know a lot of the culture of a lot of the different areas of the UK. So that was kind of one of the main reasons is that obviously, the culture in Edinburgh is wildly different to London, which is different to Liverpool, which is different to Bristol. And we kind of wanted to be able to empower mostly women, men of course as well, but women who probably were in a similar position to us to be able to start a business that they could be proud of because we both came from careers where, of course, it becomes part of your personality, and so you want to be incredibly proud of what you're doing. So we wanted to kind of allow, I guess, or empower women in a similar position to start a company that they could be incredibly proud of, but that was in, these different areas of the country that we didn't know huge amounts about.
Amazing. And that's quite a jump, isn't it? Solicitor and social worker into also like social care situation, like into
Yeah.
business ownership. Like that is quite a leap of like of of magic, really. Like when you think,
Like, what word are you going to choose to be polite here?
well, I mean, disruptive for sure. It absolutely is. And like when you were talking to your families about like, okay, I've decided that actually this isn't for me anymore. Like, I'd love to kind of hear their reaction because like for me, I was in marketing, I was in sport, I loved what I was doing. I had this amazing corporate career mapped out for me. And one day I turned around and I said, I'm in a toxic workplace. I don't like it anymore. It doesn't fit with family. I'm out. And my partner was like, oh, how are we going to pay the mortgage? And all the money mindset dread. But actually, like I think kind of I had to bring family on the journey with me. Did you guys find that?
I think I was quite lucky because when I'd had my second child, I'd been kind of to see a careers coach and that sort of thing. So it was almost like this 18-month journey. So by the time I sort of found the training that I hadn't realized I was been looking for, I'd mentioned it to my husband and he was like, oh my gosh, that is your perfect job. You should really go for it. So he was really supportive. I won't pretend that all the solicitors that I spoke to and told them what I was going to do didn't literally laugh in my face. Because of course you're a solicitor, there's a path. I was an associate, I was on the children panel, I was doing pretty well. The firm I was at was lovely. And so I think some people were a bit like, you're doing what now? Like what ridiculous, ridiculous. So that was my experience. So I was quite lucky with family, but yeah, the solicitors that I'm still in touch with now, that I do remind them now, I'm like, yeah, we're doing all right. And they're just like, yeah, okay, sorry.
How about you, Faye?
Right.
Reaction?
I think my husband is well aware of my personality in terms of, yeah, I kind of I wasn't a social worker when I first left school. Like that was something that I came across much later in life, and I think I was just looking for something that I wanted to help families. That's what I wanted to do. And I loved being a social worker. I worked in mental health. I worked in women's prisons. I worked in inpatient psychiatric, high secure, medium secure, and I loved it. And I loved it because I was helping people, or I felt at the time like I was helping people. And it wasn't until I had my second child and I went back to work after having him, and I just felt like I wasn't helping anyone anymore because I was run ragged. And I was like, this is why I came into it, and I'm not doing it. And so I'm burning out because I'm, you know, killing myself trying to get to, I was dropping the kids off at before, early morning breakfast club at nursery. And then I'd be stressing at the end of the day because I know that I need to get back and get them because my husband, I mean, during COVID, my husband was away for 8 months. So it was just me, and I was key working at the time. So I had to go to work. And yeah, it was stressful. So I think when I kind of said I can't do this anymore, I think my husband was like, "It's probably been a matter of time until you said that." And everyone's just been really, really supportive, actually.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? I think it's that point where you know in yourself, and I think you know you're going to make it work because what you're doing isn't working, and that leap of like magical faith is so rewarding because you know that you can back yourself and be in charge of all of those things that you want to be present for. And I always find like we moan a lot about the school run and like, oh, the kids in the morning and all the rest of it, but it's such a privilege actually to be able to do it and to be present for this,
It's all the things. That's what we find. Like it's not even, yes, the school run, but that's only part of it's not even part, is it, that makes up being a working parent. It's all the things like the sports days and the assemblies and the school productions and, the come and have a stay and play session with your child at nursery and all of these things. And you realistically, you just can't do it if you're working a 9 to 5 job unless you are incredibly lucky and have a very, very, very flexible employer who will let you just disappear. Because I think, how many hours did we work out that I think it was my last year of the last year of nursery for my youngest. He was going into school in the September, and in the July I worked out can you remember what it was? How many hours?
Like there was 2 weeks where there was like 14 hours of various things.
Yeah, during
before the school
working day.
holidays. Yeah.
Before the school holidays. So before my eldest had broken up for school, I had 14 hours spread out over a 2-week period of like settling in sessions, leaving assemblies, all of the sports days, all of those things that were in the working day. And luckily I wasn't working as a social worker anymore because I just would not have been able to do it. And these things only happen once.
And it's not even the big things as well. So like the sports days and those sorts of things, often employers are sort of more understanding that, like, oh, okay, yes, sports day, that's a once a year thing. But it's the random texts on a Monday saying, oh, tomorrow at 2:47 p.m. we're going to show you a 13-minute dance routine that we've done. Come and see that. So it's that sort of thing that we're then able to go to as well. So, I think the big things are so important, but then just being able to be there for like the little random like dance recitals or the play that, the 5-minute play that the reception have been working on, whatever it might be, all the random extras. That was kind of really important for us. And I think between us, not going to each other's children's schools, but like, separately, we've pretty much managed to be there for almost everything, I would say, which has been kind of so important for us.
Yeah.
Because we're both very driven, we're both, our careers were really important, but at the same time, our children are incredibly important to us as well. They're the priority. And for us personally, we wanted to be like properly present.
Yeah. I completely resonate with that. And yeah, like we had the same actually, where I think over the last 4 weeks, or basically from the end of June until they broke up, literally like a week or so ago, there was something every single week.
Yeah.
There was the year 6 leavers production. There was the like family fun Friday to come in and see their learning. There was the 20-minute assembly in the morning. Like there was so much. And I think my kids don't realize that and I'm grateful of this, and you guys probably are too, but like your kids don't realize that actually there are parents that can't go to that stuff. And it's such a privilege to be able to go and like we're like, oh, got this thing this morning, I've got to rearrange my morning because they only told me 2 days ago that I've got to be in the school at like 9 o'clock on Thursday. We had French cafe one of the days. And we got an email on the Monday that French cafe for year 3 was going to be on the Thursday morning from 9 until 9:30. It's like to help help your kids practice what they've learned for the year. And it was like I had to rearrange my morning, but being able to rearrange my
You can, yeah.
you can.
My eldest did say to me once, she was doing a cross country. She was representing her school at cross country, and all the parents got invited to go and watch from all the different schools. And we got there, and there was some girls that my eldest knew from outside clubs and things that she knew from other schools. And so anyway, they all did their races and things. And then at the end, she said to me, "Oh, mummy, I was really sad because so and so's mummy wasn't there." And I said, "Oh, it's all right. I was cheering for them." And but she did realize it. And I think, and your middle one,
My middle one, yeah. I think we were just sort of driving home randomly one day, and he was like, "You always come, don't you?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "To the school things, you're always there." And I was like, a minor miracle that he'd actually noticed, but obviously it must be such a thing that he's taken on board. And I was like, yeah, for this moment, I'm going to bask in this like parenting win of like, well, you have noticed, like I have, made a lot of effort to be there, and it was really lovely for that
The flip
second.
side is though that they do expect it then. So if you genuinely can't go for something that's like, and it wouldn't even be a work thing because we would rearrange 99.9% of stuff we rearrange around the kids. But if there was something else that absolutely couldn't be arranged, I do think my kids would be like, "What?
What do you mean?
You're not coming? What do you mean?"
We had it it was earlier in the school year actually, and there was something that I can get to and my other half couldn't get to, and it was an absolute meltdown. I was like, but you don't realize how lucky you are because most parents don't get to these things and we usually do. And it was like, I think my kids then like age 8 had this realization that actually, you know what, she's there for most of it. And my daughter, when she started primary, it was a brand new school, so we had to set everything up, and she's just left primary school, and actually like in the thank you speeches at the end, they were saying like I was one of the PTA chairs that set everything up, and it's an incredible moment where you kind of realize that I've had this amazing career, then pivoted and done my own thing within franchising, and I've still been able to be there and do those extra things that have made a huge difference
because senior school is so different. I have one at senior school, one who's just left year 6 who's about to go to senior school, and it's very different. You don't really get invited to anything. So it's been really lovely to be able to be there. And obviously, my daughter's still at primary school, but once they're at senior school, it's a very different parenting style. It's much more hands off.
Yeah, and part of me's looking forward to that, I'm not gonna lie. But I'll miss those plays and stuff for sure. Tell me a little bit about so obviously, I say obviously because I know, but like that kind of sleep consultant, like where did the business idea come from? Having talked about your backgrounds and like your family and stuff, like what drove you to say there's a problem with this and we can help and this is what we're going to do about it?
So as I said, kind of when I was looking for a new role, I was kind of with this careers consultant, the careers advisor, we were kind of basically working out what was important to me at the time. And kind of similar to Faye, I went into being a solicitor because I wanted to help people, try as that sounds. And most people don't believe that solicitors want to help people, but that's literally why I wanted to do the job. And so when I was sort of trying to work out what to do, I sort of looked into, the Solicitors Regulation Authority, should I go into a different area of law? And then I realized actually it just wasn't the place for me anymore. And so I'd been seeing this training for an American company, because obviously at the time, 9 years ago, sleep consulting wasn't that big in the UK. And so I'd seen this training, it just kept coming up on my Facebook feed. I think one of my friends had liked it, historically. And I just wasn't really in that headspace, but at the time I was like, I can't help but feel like the universe is trying to tell me something. It wasn't really something I was into at the time, but I was like, someone's like pushing this in front of me. So I just happened to mention it to my husband one evening because I felt really passionate for both of the children that I had at the time. about how important sleep was, and I was very, into kind of helping them sleep well and into routines and that sort of thing. So when I mentioned it to my husband, he was like, "Oh my God, that is literally the perfect job for you. Why are you even wondering whether you should go for it?" So yeah, so I did, and I think kind of hadn't quite realized what a need there was. When we were having our initial kind of similar to you conversations, how many clients do we need to pay the mortgage? What happens if it doesn't work? All of those sorts of things, which wasn't really a reality that I was worried about, because I was like, well, it will work because I will make it work. But I didn't realize quite how quickly it would work. And the need that was obviously out there. And then I think following that, it becoming more well known about how important sleep is, sort of your Matthew Walkers and people like that, where they're writing their books, and people kind of recognizing that sleep is really important. It's kind of grown in more people wanting it, but at the same time, I think as well, mummies and daddies recognizing that actually, A, it's okay to ask for help, and B, there's no one size fits all, and that we're not here to say you have to do it our way. We're here to say, if what you're doing is working amazingly, that's brilliant, don't change anything, you do you. But actually, if it's not working for you, then we're here and we can help you. And I think that it's really important to kind of have that position to come from.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, so coming from a mental health background, I'm really passionate about how important sleep is, and it also gets sort of glossed over. We talk about nutrition a lot, we talk about exercise a lot, and really the three pillars of well-being in general are sleep, nutrition, and exercise. The other two get a lot of
kudos.
But sleep doesn't. And from a mental health perspective, it's just so important. Like, you literally cannot live without sleep. Like, you can't not sleep. It's the same as not drinking water. You can't do it. You would die. So
you'll die first from lack of sleep than you will from lack of food and exercise, or lack of food and drink.
Yeah. So, and I'd also worked a lot with mums who had postnatal depression, some with postpartum psychosis, and sleep deprivation is a huge trigger in that. In fact, it's one of the main triggers in it. And obviously, when you have a baby, you expect not to sleep. Like, everybody expects not to sleep. But when that's going into, a year, 15 months, 18 months, 2 years, up to, we've worked with 9-year-olds who have never slept in their own bed, ever. And again, if that works for you as a family, great, brilliant. But often what we find with the older children is that they want to change it, because they're like, "Mummy, I want to go to their sleepover. I want to go on the school residential trip, and I can't, because, like, how am I going to do that?" And going back to, I remember I tell this story quite a lot, and I had a phone call on a Friday night and I never answer my work phone on a Friday night. It's like a bit of a boundary for me. But something told me to do it. I don't know why, because I remember vividly, I was like stirring spaghetti bolognese, had the chilled around my ankles. Like, when you're like, I can't, this is not the right time to answer the phone, but I did. And it was a mummy who was incredibly, just completely and utterly broken. Like, she couldn't really string a sentence together. She was that tired, and she was like, "I just don't know what to do." And I was like, "Right, okay, let's," so I sort of went through everything, and we started working together quite quickly. And she had a 2-year-old who had never slept very well, more than I think he'd slept for like 45 minutes at a time since he was born, and that was it really. And then they'd wake up, so she was back at work, dad was at work. Anyway, we worked together, got everything sorted. And when I had my finishing phone call with them at the end of the 2 weeks, they said, both of them were on the call, and I remember so clearly, they said, "Thank you so much for answering the phone on that Friday, because if you hadn't have done it," and the mum said this, she said, "if you hadn't have answered the phone, I was going to do something to myself that weekend." And like, that's really extreme, but it shows you just how serious sleep deprivation can be. And like Jenna said, it's not something you have to put up with. Like, it's, if you're happy with it the way it is, great. But if you're not, there is help out there, and hopefully it's becoming less of a taboo to seek some support. And we are seeing a bit of a shift with that, definitely. So yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed.
That story just gave me goosebumps, like really good. I remember a few years ago with the twins, like we'd be on like a 2-hour sleep cycle, and I was grateful to get that, like hour and a half in the middle of it, but like you don't feel like yourself, and everything in reality starts to really shift.
Yeah.
But off the back of having the twins and the postnatal depression that I had, I went and trained and wrote a parents' mental health course. And one of the key things of that was sleep, because they use sleep deprivation as a form of torture. And
Yeah.
yet all of these mums and dads are then suffering it and then trying to carry on their lives like whatever normal is, you know? It's
Yeah.
crazy. So yeah.
I think what we were also finding was that a lot of the support out there available via, normal avenues, going to your GP, seeing your health visitor, those sorts of things, it kind of centered a lot on, well, you need to ask for help. You need to, as in, like, you need to speak to, get grandparents around, get your friends around to help, and that's all well and good. But we don't often live in a society where that's a reality, because my parents worked until fairly recently, and we definitely will work. Our generation will work, and so we don't have that village mentality anymore. Not some people do, and that's great, but often it's not the case. And I know that, like, in my circles, like military wives live completely cut off from any support network, and we've worked with quite a few military wives whose husbands are overseas, and they're like, well, we've just got to do it ourselves because I've got no support. So for us, we wanted to offer that, that support, be that support for people.
And I think the NHS is in such crisis as well at the moment that the support just isn't there, because even the sort of specially trained midwives or health visitors, for example, have maybe had a day of training. And I think that's great. I think it's really important. But at the same time, with if you don't have the experience to be able to kind of look at sleep logs and tweak things and kind of intensively involved, it kind of, it's a bit piecemeal. And often we'll have people who've come to us who've sought advice elsewhere that it hasn't been successful for them. It kind of blows our mind, because we know that there's, touch wood, not been a little one in the 1,600 families that we've all worked with that we haven't yet been able to help. So for us, it's just so important that we're able to provide that. And that we've had quite a few, although Faye's story of the client is quite extreme, all the franchisees and, of us, we've had, families who, I had a mummy who was having, postpartum even psychosis because she hadn't slept, and all of those sorts of things. So it's not normal, but it's what we're sort of seeing on quite a daily basis. And often our clients will say that we kind of form part of their village.
Yeah.
That they don't have that kind of, traditional village, but we are then forming part of that village for them, which is, quite a privilege, really. And wonderful speaking to a parent who is in that state of sleep deprivation, knowing that we'll make it all better. It's just such a lovely thing to be able to know and be so confident about.
Yeah, it's that trust, isn't it? Like, they have this absolute trust in you. And like, I've worked with a lot of like new parents over the years for Daisy First Aid. Like, they're in such a vulnerable state. So to be the one that they trust enough to let into their home, and trust enough when let's face it, they've tried so many different routes before they've found you.
And there's so much noise out there as well. There's so much noise and nonsense, if I'm perfectly honest, on social media. And I think that's quite problematic as well for lots of parents who are looking at things and then they're reading, obviously we're very evidence-based from practice, but there's a lot of opinion pieces that are posted out there on social media, on, various places, but purported to be as fact. And they're not actually fact. They're someone's strong opinions, but not necessarily based upon fact.
Yeah, if I could put anything in room 101, it would be parenting advice online. In it, get rid of it, because it's like you say, it's not researched, it's not fact checked, it's someone's opinion being presented as this is what you do. It's outdated a lot of the time, or it's just based on lived experience. I think if people could just say this is my lived experience, completely changes a lot of the narrative. The judgment that I'm sure your clients then sit and face, because they should be able to do this, or they should be able to do that, or that didn't happen in my day. And it's nonsense. There's so much nonsense. How do you guide your franchisees to navigate through that? Because it is quite a rocky path out there online. Like, how do you help them to kind of cut through, without giving any trade secrets, obviously, but like, how do you get them to cut through that noise and help them get to the people that need them?
I think that we're just so clear on our, I guess, our USP, on who we are, on who we are able. I mean, we're able to help anyone, but kind of the sorts of parents that will be looking for our help. And so, because we're so very clear that we are here to help if you want it, we tend not to, we're very clear that we're not putting our views out there on this is right, this is wrong, etc., etc. We're like, well, this is the evidence, this is the advice. We can help you if you want it, but if what you're doing is right for you, then that's the most important thing. And I think
And I
that's
think sorry,
no,
I
carry
was
on.
just going to say, I think that kind of it instantly de-escalates any kind of heat that's coming your way, which, whether we like it or not, sleep consultants get a lot of heat,
Yeah,
because they, I can only talk for our brand, but, there is this misconception that sleep consultants will ram this, that, and the other down your throat. They won't support breastfeeding, they'll damage people's attachment. And it's just absolute rubbish. Like, I
if it's done
can't,
properly.
yeah, it's absolute rubbish. And we, in terms of supporting the franchisees through that, everybody has a journey with it, because when you first come into it, you feel quite protective over what you've trained to do, which we all still do, but it just becomes less of a, you're just like, let them have their opinion. Like, that's fine.
Yeah,
Like, let them do them. Don't get involved. If somebody puts, occasionally we'll get some sort of comment on something on social media that's a little bit kind of, I don't know, inflammatory. And the best way to deal with it is just be like,
let's
but
have it done.
just don't reply to it, really. Or, if you need to, you can say something completely de-escalative about it, but just don't get drawn into it, because
Mhm.
you'll never win everybody over, and we wouldn't want to anyway.
No.
No, I think that's the thing, isn't it? We're all so busy trying to be liked online that we get a bit stuck. And excuse me, from my experience, franchisor side, trying to train that into franchisees is very tricky, because it is so personal, and our brands, particularly within like lifestyle franchise, it is so personal, because we're so passionate and we care so much about what we're doing, that to try and train a newbie into just let them do their thing, you're going to do your thing and you're going to stand track, I think is difficult in the early days for them, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done, you guys. What advice would you give to other people who are in different industries but thinking like maybe franchise, maybe not?
Whether they should franchise their company. I would say like I think and this is kind of what we say to our franchisees as well. Be really clear on your why, because your why is what's going to get you through. Franchising isn't necessarily the easy option. Incredibly rewarding and amazing community, but you need to be really clear on your why, because if you're not franchising for the right reasons or a really strong why, then you're probably going to struggle if you get to a point in your journey, which obviously, every business owner has, that becomes a little bit tricky. You need to be able to remember or almost fall back on your why to keep you going. Probably
Yeah.
what I would say.
And also make sure that you listen to take on everything that everybody says, but also listen to your gut, because
100%.
I think, initially, as we can say that, in the past we've listened to things and we're like, oh, okay, we must do that, and we've done it, and then later on we're like, why did we do that?
Yeah.
And hindsight is a wonderful thing,
Yeah.
but I think just engage in like groups like EWIF. They're brilliant, because they're a really good sounding board, and like most people have been through the same things that you've been through in the past. And yeah, just making sure that you can wade through everything and take all the good things and the bad, but
Mhm.
do listen to your gut as well.
Yeah, definitely. We become much better, I think, at doing that.
Definitely.
Definitely. It's you have to, don't you? Because it's like anything, there's so
Love
much advice out there by so many different people, and you're like, I
Yeah.
can't do it. And I work with a lot of new franchisors, and they feel very pulled in different directions, because this person said this and I've got to do this, and it's like, well, what's going to work for you?
Mm.
And you're absolutely right, like knowing why you're doing it is the ultimate steer, really, isn't it, of like, well, does this feel right for me?
Mm.
But I do think having friends within the industry is very important as well. And from my experience with the franchise industry is that everyone is very, very friendly,
Yeah.
which I love. And I think it's interesting about kind of this like notion of franchising is very much about kind of having a network of franchisees who comply, and we want them to follow the ops manuals and things like that. But actually, I think where the franchise industry is very different in terms of the innovation and the kind of not disruptive element of it, but like it's very different to most other industries, is that actually the connections within franchising, different franchise businesses, it's very rare to come across someone where you're like, oh, I had a bad experience with that person. Like everyone's so willing to help and everyone's so friendly. And like you said, Faye, it's that kind of like hooking into the right places. Like EWIF's fabulous for stuff like that. Because I think when you're a newbie, if you think back to when you started, like the notion of like going out there and making friends with all these like different people, it can be quite intimidating, can't it? And in terms of kind of how you guys pushed through that, like how valuable, not in a leading question, but like how valuable was it to kind of go and find your people within that support network?
Yeah, I think I definitely was. I think, I remember sort of talking to, I can't remember if might have been James, at the BFA, but kind of saying, everyone talks about how friendly the franchise community is. And I was like, I can't, I'm struggling a little bit here. So he kind of introduced us to a few people, suggested that we go to EWIF. And I feel like that's kind of when it really, we got started. It was like, oh, I see now what everyone's been talking about. And so, there's people that I've met in the franchise industry that I would now say are my friends, and I would meet them for a coffee, or we would go out for a glass of wine, or that sort of thing, rather than being people I know at work or through work. And I think that that's really lovely, and we've had some great advice from kind of other franchisors who are perhaps a few years or many years ahead of us as well at different meetings. I don't know if you agree, Faye.
Yeah, no, I think the good thing about franchising is that it's such a varied pool of people. You've got everything from sort of the huge McDonald's right down to, the little lifestyle brands. And everybody's got something to offer. Like everybody's got advice that is valid. And we are very lucky that we can sort of pick and choose a little bit about like, oh, well, we need advice on this. Like, who would be, oh, okay, let's ask so and so. And like, oh, we need someone to speak at our conference. Like, who do we think would be a good fit? Oh, let's ask them. So so that's really helpful, I think. But yeah, finding your people is so important because it's very easy to be dragged along down somebody else's path, and then you're halfway down and you're like, this is not our path.
Yeah.
What are we doing on this path? So yeah, it's really important.
Yeah, and I think that collaboration and that sharing drives an awful lot of innovation in the industry because like I know, like I'm in different franchise groups where it's like, okay, has anyone tried this before? Like we're all in a group together. Has anyone tried this before? Has anyone had any success with this? Yes, no, maybe, didn't work. Speak to that person. And I think that drives a lot of people to have the courage to innovate and try different things because there's a lot of recommendation and there's an awful lot of knowledge sharing.
Yeah.
Just out of the kindness of everyone's heart. And I think that
we're in the, similar to you, Stacey, in the best franchise all group, best franchise group, sorry. And that, that are very, very similar, lots of knowledge sharing, lots of, as you were saying, has someone tried this? How about this? Oh, I need help with this. Has this happened to anybody? Even just that in itself, the kind of group of franchisors getting together is really helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And seeing somebody else, have you tried this? Or has anyone tried? Oh, I should try that. Let's put it on our list. Definitely. What's next for Little Dreams, ladies?
Expansion, I say. I think kind of we've been so conscious of our brand. So obviously, I know all franchisors, part of their role is to protect their brand, but I think for us, because we're so incredibly proud of what we've created, and we're just really, I guess, protective of the brand and the culture that the franchisees have fostered, that we have been quite cautious in taking people on. That I think we have quite a stringent interview process. Or certainly that's what we've been told. Because we want to make sure that we're getting the right people for the brand and the right people for the culture. And I think, we're kind of at a stage now where we think, okay, we've got all, I think, touch wood, all the foundations right. And so now we're kind of able to build on what we've created.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would agree.
It's about that culture and really fostering the culture that you want to
Yeah.
grow. And I think the language is a bit strange sometimes, I think, because we talk about recruitment, don't we? Like, I have to expand, I have to recruit, I have to sell more franchises, but actually we award franchises to the
Yeah,
right,
100%.
and whether it's stringent or not stringent, I'm sure it is for you guys, because you're putting people not just into your brand, which is obviously everything to you guys, but you're putting them into people's homes at a point
Yeah.
where they're vulnerable as well.
Yeah.
And I think, from a Daisy First Aid point of view, like, we have that as well. Like, you can teach anyone how to do it. You can't teach them how to be a good person and really kind of live the brand values that you have. So yeah, I completely get that. Yeah, expansion in the right way. Absolutely. We always end the podcast with the question: if there was a magic wand and I waved it and you couldn't fail, what would you do?
We've been thinking about this one. I think that our personality types are that we would just go ahead and do it anyway. I think that almost you could think about that as like franchising. I think maybe if you'd asked us before, like a few years ago, we'd have been like, right, well, we'll launch the franchise, and then we just did it anyway. And for us, I think kind of, I don't know whether this sounds a bit trite, but like almost failure is not an option. Like, it wouldn't really occur to me that it wouldn't work, because we'll make it work, whatever it is, like we'll make it work somehow or some way. So I think maybe if you had a magic wand, I would quite like a magic wand to help all the babies sleep. And or maybe sell the magic wands
All the
to
parents.
make it easier for them. But then nothing worth having as easy as it is. So um that's I think yeah, just sort of coming back to both of our personalities, we're quite lucky in that we have different strengths, but our personalities are relatively similar. So we're both kind of like, well, this is failure is not really something that has ever really crossed our minds. Otherwise, we might not have done it.
No,
I
I think
don't know.
like from a completely like basic point of view, if if I could wave a magic wand and know that what I was about to do wouldn't result in the failure of anything, then I would just eradicate social media. I
Oh,
just
yes.
I just
Yeah.
like I think we were both like praying that TikTok would be like become no more when everything happened, and then it
Selfishly.
didn't, and we were like, damn it. Um, I think if that had no
Yeah,
bearing on
that is a
business,
good one.
then that's what I would do, and I'd probably get rid of it in life in general. Not wanting to sound like I'm old before my time, because it's not that. I just feel like it just puts so much pressure on everybody,
Yeah.
and business is not immune to that, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
social media isn't our favorite thing to do. I don't know if you've guessed that. It wouldn't be
Everybody's
our
always like, oh, you're so good on it, you're all over it, you're on it all the time, and we're like, no, but it's really hard. Like, it's not. We don't find it. It's not our enjoy. It's
I
not
think
what
if
we
we enjoyed it,
do.
it'd be easier, wouldn't it? So many people are like, oh, you could do this, oh, you could do that. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, we could. Yeah.
right, we could.
I think it's one of those funny things where, like, we say this to our franchisees when they join Daisy First Aid, like, I know you think you've bought a franchise to work with parents and teach parents, but what you've actually done is you've bought a business to
Yeah.
grow. And actually what you now need to do is spend like 6 to 12 months growing an audience so that you can go out and do, anything that you want to do. And show my age a little bit, but like, I've been in marketing for over 20 years, and when I started there wasn't emails and there wasn't
Yeah.
there was no social media, and we had to do it the hard way. And for convenience and ease, if I can record myself talking to somebody and put it out there and get even 100 people see it, like, I'm happy, because that's 100 doors that I didn't have to just go and put leaflets through. But I think the interesting thing is, where social media now is so noisy
Yeah.
and so hard to cut through. I say this in all my franchisee training, like, we've come full circle again at the moment, where actually get off of social media. Like, yeah, you got to have a presence there, but get off of social media. That's not going to drive your visibility and your sales. Get out and go and see people and be in front of people and show them
Yeah.
you've actually got legs, that and feet and your funky shoes, and let them see that you're a real person,
Yeah.
so that they can relate, particularly if
100%.
sleep deprived, new parent, caught in the headlights, all that stuff. So yeah, I'm with you guys. I only have social media for work. I don't have any personal social media.
Same here. And it's got to be there because you need a presence because the expectation is there. But yeah, we're very similar. Social media is just like a box, it needs to be done. But actually, if you're DMing somebody, that's just your first port of call. Like if they're not replying to that, fine, there's not millions, but number of other ways that you can contact them. There's another number of other ways that you need to be in front of people. It's kind of just one portion of everything else.
Yeah, I think that we're definitely at a point where once upon a time being on social media was your visibility strategy, but now actually it's not even particularly helpful for visibility because it's not enough. That penetration is not enough.
Yeah, the algorithm is nobody's friend. But yeah,
No.
and I think now as well, we like you were saying, we've come full circle, especially kind of post-COVID and all the, you'll be similar kind of parents post-COVID, their children are now, the COVID babies, as it were, are now going to school, they're at school, and all the newer parents, they are very much used to an in-person world. Like that's where we are now. And so kind of in person is really coming back, if that's even a thing that is coming back into fashion.
All a cycle. It's all a cycle.
Yeah.
Ladies, tell everybody how they can get in touch with you.
Oh, so many ways on social media.
Just to bring it really full circle.
Yeah, I know I'm just like complaining about that. So obviously we've got a website with a huge amount of blogs, help on there. We are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or the old-fashioned way, you can email or even give us a phone call. All the details are on the website.
Amazing. And you do answer the phone, which is great because don't ever call me. I don't answer the phone. Awesome. Jenna, Faye, thank you so much. I've thoroughly enjoyed chatting with you. We'll put the website and all of your social media links in the show notes so that people can come and get hold of you as they want to. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.